Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Joy-Con and Pro controllers, what's up and welcome to CommentForce number 11, the weekly show where we take all of your comments, your thoughts, your ideas, your questions, put them into a giant machine and try to answer as many as we possibly can all together. I'm your host, Zach. This is SwitchForce. I've got Jake and Gabe here with me, and it's a very lucky episode because what is better than 1-1? 2 1s. And this is number 11. Also, quick note before we get started, based on some of the comments last CommentForce, our bicentennial, our decaversary, our
episode 10.
Episode 10, that one. CommentForce will always be more of a speculative, hypothesis-centered show, right? It's taking your thoughts, your questions, your ideas, your hopes, and then discussing them all together. So it is not a straight news show, although we do touch on news that happened throughout the week. There is a lot of this that is going to be hypothetical. So when you see mega lineup for Virtual Console ? It's because that's something that's discussed, and we're discussing what that could be or what we'd want from it, and that's where those titles are coming from. And the thumbnails we just try to make look as cool as possible. So if they happen to look real, I guess that's a golf clap for Jake since he's on thumbnail duty and making really good thumbnails lately. So just want to clear that up for everyone, that CommentForce is always a discussion-based show, and thanks to those of you who were out spreading that word to people who were unsure. So again, CommentForce is the show where we take your comments, your thoughts, your ideas, your questions, and try to answer as many as we can. And we're going to do that right now. But first, how was your weeks, my friends?
My week would have been better if you hadn't used bicentennial incorrectly. It didn't fit in the context of what you were saying at all. So,
well, I don't know what spring and summer are. I don't know what an anniversary is. So I'm just perpetuating the problem.
No,
Jake, how was your week?
Good. We got Mario Kart, which is awesome.
That is a fantastic way to improve
but now,
a week.
My mind is stuck on the fact that I'm envisioning men's and women's bathroom signs, but with Joy-Con and Pro controllers, because apparently that was a delineation that you made. And so that when you said that, that's something you go to a Switch event and they have these two separate lines or doorways you can enter, if you use Joy-Con or if you use Pro controller.
Hey, listen, there may be a great war one day, but we have at least
Switch war.
A bunch more CommentForces to try and calm the tension and unite the Joy-Con and Pro Controller armies.
Okay. With that said, let's get started with the first one here.
We hope you had a fantastic week. Thanks as always for all of your input, all of your engagement, all of your comments. We really love the community we've grown here, and it now is nearly 75,000 strong, which is incredible considering that this channel was in the single digits.
It's almost as big as
not
my
very
bug
long
collection.
ago. Big as your bug collection? You have 75,000 bugs?
Yeah, I know. I have more than 75,000 bugs. They're all alive.
Little known fact: Jake used to be terrified of spiders. That was my main. That was the the thing I held over your head was your fear of spiders.
It's because you created the fear, but that's okay.
Jabo Thunder is not afraid of making cool suggestions, and he says, "I think the Switch Virtual Console games will have to be repurchased, but will come with some really cool new stuff, such as the following: achievements or a challenge mode like the NES Remix, time trials, leaderboards, and multiplayer where applicable. What do you guys think?" And I like this because last time we talked about the Virtual Console and how they were going to handle things. We also know that they'll be giving away a free Virtual Console game a month once the online service is up and running, and that there may be new inclusions there, such as multiplayer. So what do you think about upgrading the Virtual Console titles with some sort of modern system, whether it be multiplayer, leaderboards, time trials, achievements, challenges, etc.?
I agree with you that you're going to have to repurchase this. I owned Link to the Past on the Wii U Virtual Console. I'm sure if Link to the Past is going to be available on Switch, I'm going to have to repurchase it. I've kind of just come to terms with that. But as far as everything else, I don't know how much effort they're going to put into it. I don't. If I'm being realistic, and I hope I'm wrong, I don't think they do any of this, especially multiplayer.
But for me, I don't even hope you're wrong, because then it becomes more like a port where you're trying to upgrade it to fit the new system and the new era of gaming. But what it really is just Virtual Console, where you're digging back into decades ago, playing that game the way it was untouched. With better frame rates or whatever. But I don't know. I think adding achievements or time trials or stuff like that would try to bring it up to speed, whereas I think it's meant to be left untouched.
Actually, let me change my stance from a maybe to a definitely no. What games do they even add multiplayer to? And there's no way that they host servers. No, it's not happening.
They have said though that there could be the inclusion of those things for these titles.
Like what?
So that is something that's happening. You know, when they talked about the Switch Online bringing back like an old NES game free for a month to try and like boost that what do you call it, that player base, then they would have online multiplayer for some of those old classic titles. So that part is definitely happening 100%. That is fact.
So maybe for like
unless they backtrack off that.
Maybe like the one game that they're promoting, but I don't think they add it to every game, and it has to be a game that's like already has multiplayer.
Sure.
They just add it to be online. Like they're not going to create some new mode or something.
Wait, so
Sure.
so then I'm being enlightened, which I'm perfectly fine with. So just hypothetically, then, Mario Party 2 or 3, 4 doesn't matter. A Mario Party game comes out on Virtual Console. There could be online multiplayer in that? Is that what you're saying that they said?
The specifics of what they said were that for their subscription service, subscribers will get to download and play an NES or a Super Nintendo game with newly added online play for free for a month. That is their verbatim copy. So they didn't include N64 or GameCube or things of that nature. But in theory, what Jabo Thunder is saying here, I think if it was applied at a system level, like, hey, we are now going to make Virtual Console more of an actual Virtual Console that has a system level, menu or a system level sort of foundation. So you could do leaderboards, you could do achievements, you could do things of that nature. I guess that's another thing to think about. Are they going to do what they typically did with the Wii, the Wii U, and the 3DS where, okay, say you buy 20 Virtual Console games, are they just all thrown on that line for your Switch? Or are they going to have a Virtual Console sort of hub like the eShop that you click on and then directs you? And maybe that's more along the lines of what Jabo is thinking.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't think most of this stuff happens. I think achievements, challenge modes, stuff like that is pretty out of the question. But knowing that they are doing multiplayer, I could see some sort of leaderboard being implemented, and I do hope that they have some more Nintendo-driven housing for the Virtual Console. I think that would add a lot and be nice to have like a system-level arcade for all these Virtual Console titles.
I'll say this: if like Contra or something, like one of the Contra games, the ones that were on Super Nintendo, if those specifically come out on Virtual Console and that lets you play online with other Switch users, like that would be insane. Again, I'm not informed. I don't know how that would work or if it would work. I don't think it doesn't sound like it would work to me, but I'm open to just being wrong on that, and it would be great.
But then
they clearly have found some way to make it work because they're committing to NES and SNES online play.
If you're saying that there's like a system you have to load up like an eShop type of thing, then would you have to be online to be able to play Virtual Console?
No, I just wonder if it'll be an app.
I don't know. Be interesting to see.
I guess just for me, I at some point then I want my Switch bar to transition to a Switch tableau where I can then see all of my titles.
It does.
You know what I mean? Because
you can, once you like go past the 12, you can expand.
Right.
It to
When
grid.
you can hit view all, but then I would want that view to be permanent.
Oh.
A lot of things to figure out once Virtual Console is fully announced. But in the meantime, let's talk some Mario Party. Nifty Kiwi says, why were they talking about Mario Party? Hello, Nintendo Party, anyone? I don't know how it's 2017 and I still can't play as Samus and destroy Mario in a family-friendly party environment. Oh, if you want board game experience, they just need to get Fortune Street on Virtual Console. Now, a little bit of love and a little bit of dislike here because Fortune Street to me is insanely boring compared to Mario Party. And maybe some people like it, but it's nowhere near the same intensity. I would love to see, though, the inclusion of the Links and the Samuses and the Villagers and the Inklings in a new Mario Party. I think that would spice things up quite a bit.
No.
As long as they went back to the old board design.
I don't think so. I like Mario Party as Mario characters. Maybe include
as a Mushroom Kingdom event.
Yeah, because it's like, if you went to Disney and they had Pirates of the Caribbean smashed with like Bugs Life, like you'd be like, what the heck is this? Like I like that it's a very specifically themed thing, and like I don't know.
Is
like,
Donkey Kong a Mario character?
Yes.
I mean, originally they were, so
Okay.
They were together. So I mean, but I mean, I guess if it fits, like if it's like like just Samus and doesn't really fit together. Like if you had like Star Fox or something, maybe like Samus like a tech robot that's really tall and skinny, and then you have like this goofy humanoid Mario and Bowser. Like I don't know. I just don't feel like it fits. And it's like then it becomes like Smash Brothers, and it's like why do you have this also? I don't know. I like the way Mario Party is themed, and I like keeping it as Mario Party, but that's just me.
I personally, I think the idea to bring more Nintendo properties and characters to Mario Kart only ups the fun of that game. I would think it would only up the fun of Mario Party. I'd be all for that. I think, they have added enough of like sort of the tertiary and super side characters to Mario Party, so why not make it a little bit more appealing and allow for some cross promotion, right? You bring in an Inkling, you bring in, Ribbon Girl, and all of a sudden you've got a board game that not only is hopefully fun and fresh, but also kind of ties in some of the top Switch properties.
I don't know. I like it separate, but that's just me.
Nifty Kiwi, thank you for your thoughts. We may differ, but we all love you. Next up on the agenda for today, we've got Super Mario Sammy, who says, "Why can't Gabe smell?" And then Gabe, we have breaking news. N21 James 1 says he doesn't have a nose. He got in an accident. Just wanted to allow you to comment on this situation.
I have the opposite problem where my nose is too big. Why can't I smell? I don't know. I don't have an answer for you, buddy. I'm sorry.
But you do have a nose.
Yes, I definitely have one of those.
I did see multiple people say, like, wait, Gabe has a nose? I could have sworn he had a nose. Thought that was really funny.
Yeah, no, I do have a nose. It just can't smell. And
it was from birth, right? Or as long as you can remember?
Yeah, I've never been able to smell anything. So, it's not like a new thing. Like, it's something that I've had since inception.
Since inception. Since Leonardo DiCaprio made that movie, Gabe hasn't been able to smell. So
Yeah.
There's your answer. Colby L says, "You guys are slipping. If there's no news, don't make a video. Also, your videos are a little quiet." Well, thank you. We have been working to correct a lot of the little technical difficulties, so we'll up the volume this week. Hopefully, you guys will notice that. And in terms of this, I just wanted to talk on this for a second. Our channel is all about Switch. It's all about Nintendo fun, but it's not just about news. So most of our actually initial inspiration for the channel was we wanted to discuss Nintendo games, we wanted to discuss Nintendo news, we wanted to discuss the directs and the E3 presentations and the upcoming lineups and the recently released. So our channel is, half news but also half discussion. So if there's no news, that's sometimes exciting because then we have the opportunity to make videos just talking about things that are interesting to us and that we're intrigued by in terms of Nintendo past, present, and future. So if there's no news, that's okay, because that's not what our channel sets out to be. We're not looking to just be a replica of, IGN's news section. We definitely want to give you the news and give it to you in a way that has a little bit of personality and a little bit of opinion, but also give you some discussion stuff, because at the end of the day, I think one of the most fun things about games is discussing them with your friends, and that's kind of the environment and the atmosphere we wanted to foster here on SwitchForce.
Yeah. No, and just to put it a little bit more plainly, we are not a news channel. Like, you
Not exclusively a news channel, because we do put out news.
We definitely cover as much of the Nintendo news as we can.
Of course, we'll cover it, but we're we don't label ourselves a news channel. So, hopefully, you guys still enjoy the discussions and everything. I find them to be fun, and Colby, I hope you find enjoyment in them too.
Alrighty, Daniel Silva says the Switch has so much potential for a WarioWare game. I would play the crap out of it, and I agree. I miss WarioWare. And I really, really want one for Switch.
Yeah, that is a perfect game to create for Switch.
Remember the GameCube one where it was a little goofier?
Yes.
WarioWare, Super Moves, Smooth Moves. Gosh, what's that called? Well, I looked that up. I think it would fit perfectly on this. It is WarioWare Smooth Moves. I think it would fit perfectly on the Switch because you could do some games that utilize like HD Rumble, some that use gyro. I think it would be incredibly fun. No, Smooth Moves was the Wii one. The GameCube one
was just WarioWare, wasn't it?
You guys like WarioWare?
Yeah, I think it's super fun. I think
I don't think I'm into it as much as you guys are, though.
I think Gabe just does not like games that have mini games in it.
WarioWare Mega Party Games was what it was called. Yeah, I freaking love WarioWare. I love the aesthetic. I think it's one of Nintendo's like coolest and sort of most risky styles, and I think it would fit great on the Switch. I think people would really be all about it because it does appeal to a wide range of young, old, nostalgic, new, and I think it has some charming characters that would fit in nicely with the ensemble they're building with Splatoon and ARMS and Mario Kart. Heck, I'd love to even see it just be downloadable. I would even love to see the old WarioWare games just brought to Switch, but a new one, that's a property I'd love to see revisited. Poet Samuel has a comment that I thought might breed an interesting little discussion. He says, a treasure trove of IP for 6-year-old and nostalgic Nintendo fans, maybe, but they're starved for mature IP to bring in a wider adult audience. And this was in reference to the stock, where one of the analysts said that Nintendo has a treasure trove of IP, and it's the strongest in the industry. And Poet Samuel is hypothesizing that this is only for kids, and that Nintendo needs more mature IP. And there are some interesting responses to this in terms of people saying, well, the other systems capitalize on the mature IP. Nintendo kind of brings in the more of the family-friendly IP. And I just wanted to hear you guys' takes on, do you think that the Switch would be much more successful if Nintendo incorporated more M-rated IP into their catalog?
It's hard to say, because adults are the people buying these things. With the 18 to 25-year-olds with disposable income is probably who you want to market to, right? But then, Nintendo has done so well with being more family oriented in the past, and they've tried. Like, they had No More Heroes on Wii. Like, they did all the Suda 51 games that came to Wii. Like, they've tried to do more adult themes. They had Zombie U on the Wii U. Like, it doesn't automatically mean success. And the other thing is that I feel like Metroid, Zelda, those are adult games. Like, they're just visually, Zelda, is still, colorful, I guess, but, the puzzles and everything, to me, that's an adult game. But, what do I know?
And I agree. I think that we discussed before how Nintendo is very game mechanics driven, and, they polish things up super well. It's not like they're a kid-friendly game because they have super simplistic gameplay, and it's, bright colors and then, iPhone mechanics. But I think that, like Gabe was saying, Zelda doesn't have a bunch of gore, but it's still still a game that is geared toward adults. There's no 10-year-old kid who probably isn't going to put 80 hours into collecting everything in Zelda, and ARMS is going to be super mechanically fine-tuned to where a young kid could approach it with motion control and just flail, but hardcore people can get really into it with all of the mechanics and make it into a much more intense fighter that appeals to a more hardcore audience. It just doesn't have the same gore and mature themes that other games do or aim to do, and I think Nintendo kind of wants to stick with that. And I think it's a kind of a good way to go, because then that leaves their doors open to all ages and doesn't really exclude anybody, because they hit the hardcore older audience with their mechanics, and they hit the younger audience with their approachability and colors or character scheme.
Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well. I don't foresee Nintendo ever adopting. I think that they're fine with third-party IP, mature titles. I don't foresee them ever delivering an original IP from Nintendo that is mature, gore, sex, drugs, violence focused. I just don't see that ever happening.
Me neither, but it would be interesting, though.
It sure would be interesting, and I can foresee them incorporating. They did recently as well, on the Wii U and whatnot, incorporating mature-rated titles in the Switch. I don't think there's anything against that. I mean, they've already revealed in some of their third-party lineup that there will be mature titles. I don't think they have anything against that. Previously, it was more of a sticky situation, but now I don't think they're opposed to it. But I like what you guys are saying about how mature is a word that can fit many different molds. And yes, Breath of the Wild is a very adult game in a lot of ways in terms of the depth and the complexity and the hours to complete. It doesn't have to have blood and guts or tons of cussing or boobs or whatever to be a mature title. Don't think they have the mature IP. And I think it's also interesting to consider, someone pointed this out actually to Poet Samuel, that Xbox and PS4, if you're going to get for the most part, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, you're probably going to get it where it looks the best. So rather than compete with that and try to give either, comparable versions or their takes on those, I think it behooves them to have them in the library. But I like the fact that they capitalize on what they do really well.
Also, just to end this, Nintendo brought you Bayonetta 2. So that's pretty mature.
That is true. I mean, it wasn't Nintendo.
No, but they're the reason that game exists.
Yeah. So again, they're fine with it as long as it doesn't come from their main offices. Basically,
they're not making it, but they're cool with it existing on their platforms, and maybe they'll even help it exist, like Bayonetta 2.
And I think it would be super interesting to see a mature Nintendo IP. What would their take be on not a port, but if they were going to make like an Assassin's Creed Watch Dogs, that style competitor, what would they do? I think that'd be interesting. I don't think we ever get it in our lifetime.
No way.
So that's that. Thanks, Poet Samuel. J17, we got to do some work here, guys. J17 says, I was walking around the mall and saw a kid with a Switch. My heart broke. I even thought of stealing it.
Whoa. So I'm guessing J17 doesn't have one.
Right.
No.
So
Jay, don't steal stuff from people. That's not nice.
Yeah. I mean,
you could ask him to play Snipper Clips.
Yeah, or like I feel like your heart should be
could.
enlightened, but not like or like elevated, or your heart should grow 2 sizes like the Grinch, but not break. Why would your heart break? I guess because you just
implore
see it.
you. Yeah, we implore you to not steal, especially from a small Switch-loving child.
Yeah, please.
No stealing allowed here at SwitchForce. Speaking of things that are not allowed at Nintendo, Jamie Robin Mitchell says, I know they've never done this with a Nintendo system, but do you think the Switch would have been better having achievements and trophies for its games like Xbox or PlayStation? I think it would have made the games more worth playing. What do you think? And this is something that we've gotten over the weeks. And I think now that the lineup is a lot bigger, would you love achievements in something like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe?
No. I wouldn't look at them just the same way as I don't look at them on Xbox or PlayStation.
And I mean, like, there's already kind of like built-in achievements. Like Zelda has like a bunch of collectibles that you can get achievements for, and like you get the joy out of doing it. You don't need like a little like icon to pop up saying you completed all the shrines. Like you get the satisfaction of knowing that you completed all the shrines. Or like in Mario Kart, like they have trophies and they have like the stars indicating how many first places you got. And so I feel like it's like built in, like you get rewards the better you do. So it's like I don't feel like it's necessary to, because achievements like kind of make you want to keep playing or play it a different way or play the game more. And I feel like Nintendo does a good job of building like achievements sort of into it and like showing you with like unlockables or like stars or different like congratulations at the end of like cups and things like that to like make you want to keep playing in its own way. It doesn't need to have a separate system just to give you random meaningless numbers and words.
Yeah, I mean, and we've spoken about achievements before, and we don't mean to sound dismissive. Like, obviously, there's still a lot of people that really love achievements. There wouldn't be like the demand for it on Nintendo consoles if people didn't like them, and we understand that. But the thing is, I don't think any of us are super into them. Not anymore. I used to be when the 360 was originally released. I used to get every achievement in every game I could. But you know, now these days, I play on Xbox, I play on PlayStation, I play on Steam. I never look at achievements, and that's just me personally. But here's the other caveat though. I wish it was in there just for the people that like really like them, so they can just like have their way about it already, because it can't be that difficult to implement, right? Like everybody else does it. So
yeah, personally, I don't really get a kick out of achievements anymore. I used to be really into them in the 360 era. Didn't really do a whole lot for me in the current generation. But I gotta say, if they were Nintendo-ified, I'd love that. Imagine getting little, if you unlock new avatar pictures based on certain achievements, or if there were things like, win a race with every character in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, or, glide for 1,000 meters in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, then you got like a little cool avatar, a little cool sticker to commemorate your achievement. I think for me, especially like even in Mario Odyssey, like upcoming stuff like that, like manage to get this star without touching the ground. I don't know. They do, I agree, Jake, do a nice job of making their games so gameplay and mechanic driven. It feels like achievements when you accomplish things. But I can't say that it wouldn't add enjoyment if there was a separate system that was tracking this and congratulating me, again and again for doing cool stuff and rewarding potentially with profile pictures or things of that sort.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you put it that way, there is some merit to adding it, but I don't know. I
guess also for me, since they are mechanic-driven games, the replayability is in the fun, but I'd love to have something sort of like, for me at least, as a very like logical checklist type person, I'd love to have something guiding that fun.
Yeah, I guess it'd be really interesting to talk with like a Nintendo executive and who knows about this and ask them why they have never touched this area of gaming and see what they say.
That's something I should have asked Miyamoto. Why don't you like the achievements, boy?
I mean, honestly, the only thing I can think of is like because Nintendo's all about like just playing and like doesn't want to deal with any like frustrations of like trying to like repeat the same thing over and over again, or kids getting mad about it and just want to keep it focused on the game itself and like having fun and enjoying it that way. But I really don't know.
That's a good point.
Because again, I'm not super into it, but yeah, like thinking about like if you played Mario Kart only using like bananas or like something, or never using an item in a Grand Prix or something, winning it, like that would be interesting and fun to have added to it. So yeah, But yeah, it'd be super interesting to find out what the real reason instead of just our speculations that Nintendo doesn't do achievements.
Next time we get in a room with Reggie or Miyamoto or someone of that sort, we're going to ask him. But in the meantime, Michael Coons has a cool little review here, and since some people were saying that they weren't sure about the Switch indie lineup, I wanted to highlight this because I think the Switch indie lineup is very strong and is developing a really nice pool of really fun games at the right price for most of the part. And Michael says about Mr. Shifty, I had an extremely good experience shifting through fists, rockets, gunfire, explosions, lasers, and walls till I was literally blown away by the end boss. The gameplay is perfect and the end game is extremely challenging to the point where whole rooms are just filled with enemies and explosives just to surprise you with another extreme hindrance. Don't say what, because spoilers. And you have to throw away all non-existent planning. I love the game, and people who like games where it's all about fast decisions and movement will probably love this game too. So thanks, Michael, for the quick review. And if you guys have any reviews of your own for upcoming games that we cover, definitely leave them in the comments, and maybe we'll try to highlight one a week on CommentForce.
That is exactly kind of how I felt, and I wish I would have not had to power through the game in such a short period of time to be able to talk about it in our review, because it was super enjoyable and something that I would have liked to extend the experience out. But yeah, good synopsis.
Thanks, Mike. Codename Z was talking about battery life, and it seems like the general consensus on 3 hours has shifted. Before launch, people were very, very skeptical on if 3 hours would be enough, but it seems like that has completely flipped. Codename Z says, people don't know how impressive 3 hours is for big games. On my tablet that is the same size as the Switch, I was playing Sonic Jump. It's a small game and it drained my battery really fast. Having games like Zelda Breath of the Wild or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe last 3 hours is really impressive considering the size of the Switch. And then Nina Tendorian follows up and says, I think it's sort of a time flies when you're having fun thing. I've had times where I play a game for more than 3 hours, but it felt like only 1 hour long.
I think it's a okay time. 3 hours is a decent time, especially because of how simple it is to charge the Switch. The adapter that you need is very small, and you can fit literally in your the Switch in one pocket, adapter in the other pocket, and you can still fit your keys and phone in there. So as much as oh darn, I have to charge it again, it's almost like a good okay, take a break thing, because if you're playing for 3 hours straight, it kind of is a warning, hey, you need to get up and move your butt a little bit before you lose all feeling in your toes. But I also like the charging thing. You can charge it in a car or any outlet so simply that it doesn't really become an issue for me, I don't think.
Got any thoughts on 3 hours, Gabe?
Well, I was part of the video where we talked about this. That's why I let Jake have his piece. Yeah, I think 3 hours is fine. I don't find myself playing for more than 3 hours very often. The couple of times that it's happened, there's wall outlets everywhere, and just plug it in, and I have zero issue with it.
Yeah. We'll touch on that a little later, but Mark Wilson first has breaking important question. Where's the biff?
What does that even mean?
Where's the biff?
For ARMS.
I know Biff from ARMS, but where's the biff? Is this where is
where's the beef? It's a riff on the commercial. The where's the beef?
That's
commercial?
what I was gonna say. Is it where's the beef kind of thing? This is his slogan.
Well, he wants to just know where's the biff.
It's a Wendy's commercial that was very popular. There's an old lady saying where's the beef.
But where is the biff, Jake and Gabe?
But it's not the biff. He's just
no
Biff.
One knows.
Where is Biff? Biff has a body, which I don't know how I feel about.
They better have Biff at E3.
I liked him as a head with the hand on top, but now he has a body too, so I don't know how I feel about this. But they better have Biff merch, otherwise I'm going to be mad.
Okay, genius idea for a video. We call up Nintendo. We're like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Why don't you have achievements? And then as soon as they answer, we say, we want for ARMS, we're going to do a tournament, a me, Jake, Gabe, SwitchForcers tournament, and Biff is the announcer. And we want real-life actual Biff in costume to come to our HQ and commentate our tournament.
Yes, that's.
I just want a Biff plush or Biff amiibo or something.
One thing we talked about this week that got a lot of response, both positive and negative, was the Nintendo Switch Mini and this thought from Citigroup Inc. that Nintendo is probably going to release a Switch Mini at some point in the next few years. And obviously that's not a confirmed report from Nintendo, but it is a confirmed analysis from a group that typically knows about these sorts of things, at least in some capacity. And a lot of people don't want that mini Switch. SDIC or SDIC Turtles says, I would prefer the normal Nintendo Switch, though. And the point of the Nintendo Switch is that you can detach the Joy-Cons. At least that's what I think the point of it is. And I want to just touch on this briefly, because most people are saying, a mini Switch without detachable Joy-Cons defeats the purpose of the Switch and is no longer a Switch. And granted, the mock-up we saw was just a mock-up. Who knows? If they did a Switch Mini, who knows if it actually did have detachable Joy-Con. But what I wanted to talk about was, Do you think that the Joy-Con are as defining of a feature of the Switch as the actual like portable home console hybrid aspect?
I don't think of it that way. To me, what makes a console is the games. Like, to me, Switch is the games. Like, sure, the Joy-Con and the ability to take it portably, all that stuff makes the Switch special, yes. But to have, like, a mini Switch, a hypothetical mini Switch that we don't really know is ever going to happen, that without detachable Joy-Cons, I feel like that's perfectly fine. Give it to, like, a younger audience. Give it to 7-year-olds. And, like, I don't see the harm in that.
I don't...
And my real concern with a lot of the negative comments on, like, oh, like, why would Nintendo do this? They would do it for a younger audience. And if you don't want it, don't buy it. You still have the regular Switch. A mini Switch doesn't stop the regular Switch from existing. Like, that's the only thing I don't understand. But, you know.
I don't think the Switch is defined by the Joy-Con. I think it's defined by the ability to like you said, like the hybrid nature of it. And I think a Switch Mini would be interesting, especially if they allowed you to use the Mini as another controller. So if you wanted to, like, you know, bring your Mini over and then play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with your friend, like tabletop mode, your friend could use both their Joy-Con and then you could use your Switch Mini as your own controller. I think that'd be really interesting if they could do something like that. So like you could... It's almost like a set of Joy-Con in itself that you couldn't detach, but it's small enough that it wouldn't feel like awkward using it. It would still feel like a decent controller or control scheme.
Yeah. I think the big thing to think about here is, yes, it would lose the detachable Joy-Cons, and we're going to talk, there's another comment, we're going to talk about compatibility in a little bit, but to me, remember that if they did a Switch Mini, it would basically be like a personal Switch, a cheaper, smaller personal Switch for more than likely a younger person or someone who's on a tighter budget or someone who just likes small stuff and doesn't want to deal with a bigger tablet. Now, that by no means says it can't be compatible with other accessories. So like Jake said, other players could still play, because people are talking in the comments about how, man, this would eliminate sort of that multiplayer focus. Well, it wouldn't, because think of this as like a personal Switch that doesn't have detachable Joy-Cons, but you could still use other stuff with it. And you could still use others. And I guess that's where it gets complicated of what's the actual design. Does it have Bluetooth to recognize Joy-Con even if you can't attach them onto the system? How does it all work? And maybe those mock-ups are just a very poor indication of what a Switch Mini would really look like. But yeah, I think it's interesting to think about, are the Joy-Con a pivotal piece of the Switch puzzle? And could you do a portable personal Switch without that detachability? And we'll touch on it again later. So first, though, Jeremy Jacob Gutierrez says, I see a more powerful Switch in the future rather than a smaller version. It's just a bit weird. And, I think this is interesting as well. Like, if they do a second iteration of Switch, would you guys hypothesize it would be more powerful or less powerful? For me, I see a cheaper, smaller version coming before a, like, Pro or Elite version.
Yeah, I would agree. Because, like, Nintendo has never really been in, like, the rat race of power. They're more focused on their IP and their gameplay and that sort of thing, and, like, the family-friendly feel and reaching as many generations as they can. So I think that they would try to focus on those more so than trying to compete making the most impressive technical system.
They have the Wii in sight as far as success. Like, how the Wii was, like, this almost like transcendent console. Like, everybody had one, grandparents had one, and I don't know, I would imagine their mouth is watering for something like that again. The Switch is doing well. If they can keep up with demand, especially, like, it'll continue to do well. And if for some reason they think that the younger audience isn't, like, being drawn to Switch for whatever reason, I think a small Switch, not a less powerful Switch, the same power, but like in a smaller form factor, maybe. I mean, who knows? I really don't think that we get like a Switch Elite or anything like that. No.
Yeah, I guess we just have to see the right mock-up. To me, that's what's giving people the issue here of, is there no detachability? What's the form factor? And can they find a way to isolate the exact right components so that it still is compatible, but also is more of a personal portable? I don't know. Anyhow, our gaming question of purchasing power comes in from Jack Eager this week, and he says, help, should I get Mr. Shifty, Wonder Boy, or Graceful Explosion Machine, or neither, and just play more Isaac, Snake Pass, Zelda, and Shovel Knight until Tetris and Mario Kart 8. So just thought we'd do a little indie evaluation here. Mr. Shifty, Wonder Boy, or Graceful Explosion Machine?
Shifty.
Ooh, Shifty or Graceful Explosion Machine for me. I would even say get Shifty and Graceful Explosion Machine and drop Tetris, in my opinion. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. You can get all three of those. What, that's 15, 20, and 14? Or is it 20, 20, and 14? How much is Mr. Shifty? I have to look this up.
Yeah, I think Shifty's 15.
So you could technically get that. Yeah, Shifty's 15, Wonder Boy's 20, that's 25, or sorry, 35, and then Graceful's 14. So for $49, you could have all three. For me personally, I think Graceful Explosion Machine is the most addicting and the most long-lasting with replayability because it does have that high score drive. Shifty does not have the same sort of score system that could encourage replayability. Jake finished the game pretty quickly. It's definitely a fun one, but I would put Gem at the top with Shifty slightly beneath.
I would have it the opposite. I would put Shifty at the top with Gem slightly beneath. I mean, but then it just becomes what type of games do you like? Because not everybody likes games like Gem.
Yeah, for sure. So check out some gameplay. We have footage of both.
Yeah.
Let us know what you pick. Chad H comes in with a feel-good comment about the self-driving mode in Mario Kart 8. He says, my parents would benefit it, especially since they barely play video games, and this is like the only game they want to play with me. Vladicorn says, that made my day. Dem Waffles, though, says, my mom loves playing with me, but she always loses her first place lead because of falling off. Now she may just win some. Tariq says, gonna teach my dad Mario Kart 8. And Defam says, when I showed my mom the Switch and Zelda, she was like, no, that's dumb. $300 just for that? No. Then I showed her Mario Kart, and she said, yeah, I'll play Mario Kart with you. Then I was like, thank you, Mario Kart. So I like the fact that even if it's not for us, the self-driving mode is really opening the game up to other players, as well as creating cool scenarios like this where you get to play Mario Kart with your mom.
And it's not even really a self-driving mode, just like a assistant, like you can't bump into walls or fall off mode, because it doesn't like perfectly drive you.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think it's a feature that is nice for younger kids or people who don't play video games, like we've discussed before.
Yes. All right, just thought that was cool. Tim Stoner says, in my opinion, if you're going on the plane or on a long car ride, you'll probably have a power bank with you for your Switch. I get it if you're going on a shorter car ride, you'll want it to last, and it does, long enough for that. This doesn't really bother me just for that reason. If I'm going to have the Switch with me for a while, then I'll probably have prepared for battery life as well, but that's just my opinion. And again, like, interesting that this whole battery discussion has flopped, right, or flipped. Now everyone's like, okay, just bring a power bank, not a big deal. And I guess that's maybe reflective of how cool the Switch is, that people don't care. They're willing to accommodate the Switch rather than demanding the Switch accommodate them.
I think it's just kind of like an experiential thing. Like when you sit down and play something for 3 hours, you realize how long it is. But if you're like, oh, it only lasts 3 hours, like you'd be like, oh my god, my phone lasts for 24. But like when you actually use it and see that you're not really using 3 hours straight gameplay every day portably without access to charging it or taking breaks to charge it, like I think that people now understand, like, okay, yeah, that's a decent amount of time. And if you interchange like Zelda with like an indie game, then you get even more battery life. So I think people are just realizing it through experience that it's not as big of a deal as they thought originally.
Absolutely. And then Anthony's Antics comes in with an even more warm and fuzzy comment about the self-driving mode. My nephew is autistic, and I play with him whenever he comes over, and so I think this is a great addition about Mario Kart 8, which is really cool. And then he had a quick question for us. Can it be turned on for an individual player when playing split screen? I don't want it, but another person does. And yes, there's a simple... when you pop up the stats for the cart parts, when you're selecting your vehicles... You can do it in game, or you can do it in that pre-screen as well.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, you can, like, if you forget, they don't have to, like, restart. You can just hit the pause menu, and you can change all three of those settings: motion control, acceleration, and the steering, all from the pause menu.
Yeah, or you can do it pre-race so that you can be aware of like who exactly has it and who doesn't, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
All right, then. Tade Garcia says, Pac-Man Maker. How about Snipper Clips Maker? Make it happen, Nintendo. That's a pretty good idea.
That would be very intense, though. You have to have a lot of forethought, and I feel like it would turn a lot of people off. Whereas like Mario, you can like put like blocks wherever and like make the jumps and just test it out really quickly. Snipper Clips, you have to put a ton more forethought into it.
But if it was like DLC for like the hardcore Snipper Clips fans to make new puzzles and keep that game alive,
that's never gonna happen.
No.
But it's such a good idea.
It is, but it's just not gonna happen. But yeah, I think that some of those Snipper Clips level, like, they're pretty complicated, and Yeah, there's no way that there's so much that goes into like the later ones. So I don't.
But it would be such a good way to like show your development chops or show your level design chops.
I don't know if you know this, but most people don't have any of those.
But some people do, and then we could play their. I just want more snipper clips, baby. I like your idea, Tade. Eric, a black EAB, has made the claim that Gabe has won back over the Sonic community by saying, Gabe, Sonic Maker sounds amazing. Maybe some emeralds, different playable characters by hitting those power-ups? Sounds pretty dang good to me. And we actually got a number of people who are all jonesing for a Sonic Maker, wanting to speed through their own self-created levels.
It's my way of apologizing for saying that Sonic isn't my thing. So there you guys go. I gave you guys Sonic Maker. Go make Sega make it. I don't know. Figure it out.
Gabe, we've already discussed that you're a game developer, so you make it.
No, I make what I hate. I don't hate Sonic, by the way. No, it just sounds. That sounded funny.
Torterra Game says, I commented this on CommentForce earlier, but it bears repeating. I think the SNES Mini and NES Mini catalog should be available on the Switch for the $60 price tag. It would be a great deal, and it would solve the problem of them being so hard to find. And I don't think they do this, but I just thought this was a real clever thing. Like, if they did bundle, like, hey, you can go get the SNES Mini, or if you just want to double down on your Switch library, bam, $60, you get those 30 games
I
or
want
whatever.
to say something here.
Yes.
And this is unpopular, and like I know that people aren't going to like it, but I got to say it anyways. There's no way the SNES Mini comes out and it's $60. No way.
You think that it has to be more?
Yes. Absolutely. Well, if Nintendo's smart, they saw that people are paying like $300 on eBay for an NES Classic.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're going to charge.
No, of course not. No, I don't think they're going to charge $300 for an NES Classic. That's not what I mean at all. But I think that the SNES is at least like $80. I think they raise the price a little bit, and I think to compensate for that, you will get a longer cord for your controller. So I think you get a longer cord for the controller, and it's going to cost you $80, maybe even $100.
Regardless of what the price is, I don't think that they do this porting of it, because I think that, like I discussed in the video that I made about it, that they made these minis for like a novelty fun item to display and play, and not as like that they really want to push these games again.
Yeah, I still think it could be in the $60, $70, $80 price range. I don't think the difference between NES and SNES is that many dollars.
Well, no, the difference is that Nintendo recognizes, hey, people really want these. Let's make an extra $10, $20.
Yeah, but I don't.
Yeah, maybe it is.
So the
$70.
Switch is going to cost $500 because it's in demand.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying,
that's exactly what you just said.
No, but different context though. They're not going to raise the price on something just because it's doing well. That doesn't happen.
That's exactly what you just said.
This is a new product. This is a completely new product. This is separate from the NES Classic. They're going to know that there is demand for this type of product, and they'll put the price up by like $10.
Okay, $10, sure. I just don't think it's going to be like $150 or something.
No, of course not. I don't think that either. My statement was I don't think SNES Classic costs $60. That's my I don't think it costs $200.
It just seemed like you were making a big deal for a $10 increase.
No, I'm not making a big deal out of it. I'm just saying it's not going to cost $60. That's all I'm saying.
I do think bundles of a sort would be fun on Virtual Console, though. Let's see. Unhappy Lemon Studios doesn't like the idea of the SNES Classic. He says, I don't think this is a good idea. They need to sell Switches at Christmas. Making this will undermine the sales of the Switch. Most people only get one or the other. I guess if it was $300, they would. But frankly, I think they target vastly different audiences.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
I think more of the nostalgic 20-something, 30-something-year-old gamer is the one who wants to have a memento of his past or her past in their living room with a little NES or a little SNES, or parents who are looking to like, hey, I want to introduce my son to, Donkey Kong Country, or I want to, show my kids what it was like to play Balloon Fight. I don't think that those are the same people who are looking to get the new hotness in the Switch. And if they are the same people, then to me, the Switch is the easy buy. These don't sabotage each other in any way. To me, all it does is reinforce Nintendo's dominance of the market by having two products that show the past and the future.
Especially if one of your products costs $60 or $70, whatever the case may be.
Right.
Is Switch sold out at Christmas? Get a SNES Mini. So Nintendo wins either way on that front. The other thing to point out is that it's probably going to be another limited run. We know that Nintendo isn't upfront about that with the NES Classic, that it was going to be like a limited run for this thing, and it was going to be like a cool little collector's item. But I feel like if the SNES Classic does come out, they replicate that, and it will be once again limited. So I don't think you'll be able to like just go in there and buy one regardless, like unless you pre-order or you get lucky. So I don't think that this is gonna like eat into Switch sales at all.
Yeah. Dark Asian 755 talking about Nintendo's stock surging, and by stock we meant financial stock. Some people thought we meant that the stock of the system was jumping. Says, I knew Switch would be a hit since it was revealed, and I bought the stock soon after. Couldn't believe the stock price dropped initially after some shareholders were disappointed. Unlike the Wii U, I get what Nintendo is trying to do with the Switch, and so do the developers. Doesn't feel gimmicky, yet brings something fresh and useful to the table. After more games come out, this is going to be a home run for sure, and we're seeing that in the sales.
Hey, Dark. Nintendo stock is like the most volatile stock to have, because that, like, seriously, historically, it just goes up and down at a whim with like any little thing Nintendo does. So
I think the hope is that if
best of luck
Switch,
with that.
yeah, if Switch continues to do well, though, I would expect it to rise.
Sure, for a little bit until something else. Like the people that own Nintendo stock are very reactionary, like more so than any other company. I feel like. There's like constantly news stories. Like if something like big happens, like Nintendo wise, whether they announce a new Zelda or like they have a bad E3, like whatever, like the stock dictates it. Like it reflects it. It doesn't dictate it. It just like, yeah. Good luck with that, Dark.
Ty Smith has a request for a Switch reboot, and he says Golden Sun. Jason G says, seriously, I would love to see a brand new Golden Sun or even a whole remake of the original 2 in full 3D. And that is a franchise that I loved on GBA. So I am all about, if you're going to resurrect something, let's go a little bit outside the norm and give us a new Golden Sun for Switch.
I feel like Fire Emblem kind of took over.
But they're in no way the same game.
No, they're not. No, nowhere near it. But I just feel like Fire Emblem kind of came along and Golden Sun took a backseat, and again, not the same, but that's what it seems like what happened. I don't know.
I'm just curious why Ty decided to betray his profile picture and not say he wanted a Felix the Cat reboot.
That is a gamer's game on NES. No, Golden Sun was fantastic. It was made by Camelot, great developer, had really cool art. It was very like traditional RPG, but enough of its own charm and unique mechanics and some really fun characters. I don't know. I really loved everything about it. The sequel on DS was not as interesting to me. I think it lost some of the charm. I guess it's the third game because they had 2 on GBA, and they were released ironically back to back in 2001, 2002, which is strange. But yeah, I'd love a
6-year break.
Yeah, I would love to see either a remake or a new one. I think that's a smart. Golden Sun Switch is something I'd be incredibly excited for at E3.
I think it happens, honestly. Well, I don't know if it happens at E3, but I think we eventually get a Golden Sun, and like they took a 6-year break for the latest game. So
time for a 10-year break, baby.
Yeah.
King Oshawott made me sad and said disliked for Rosalina in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Rosalina is my character. She is, dare I say, the best of the princesses.
Dare you say it?
Yeah, no. We do not stand behind this.
I love Rosalina. That's my go-to. That's my Mario Kart mistress right there.
All right.
Rosalina. Only Schroeder says, Mini Switch is like a badass Game Boy. People are hating on it, but honestly it could do very well. I prefer the original Switch, but I think this would be a crazy good iteration into the handheld world. Imagine the price for this too. And yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It more is a personal player that then somehow has compatibility with the others. A couple people pointed out, like, how would this ever work with 1-2 Switch, a game that is focused entirely on the detached Joy-Con? And I don't know how they'd work around that unless it just wasn't
easy.
Compatible.
Yeah, you just don't play 1-2 Switch on it. Like that.
Yeah, but what are they supposed to say?
Nothing. Like there's games that are like Xenoblade on 3DS is only like playable on new 3DS. Like there's precedent for this.
Yeah, but how do you say that every game is playable except this one?
The same way they said it for Xenoblade. Like Xenoblade, hey, this doesn't work on the old ones. Like you put something like on the box or something. I like let's be a little bit honest here and like whatever. You guys really like 1-2 Switch, cool. In like a year or two from now, when like hypothetically this thing would be coming out, who's still gonna want to be playing 1-2 Switch?
Yeah, and I just think it's funny.
I mean, I know people like are still gonna play it. Like I understand that. I'm not saying no one's gonna play 1-2 Switch. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that I don't think that that's a reason for this thing not to exist.
And I just think it's hilarious that people are already saying that they prefer the OG Switch when this thing, there's not even been like a official model of what this is going to look like or how it's going to function. Like, I just think it's hilarious. People are like, well, this is not going to work because of this, but there's been like nothing. It's just like all rumor right now. But
yeah, absolutely. So maybe they'll find a way to handle it, or maybe it is compatible technically because you can connect Joy-Con and play with that, but who knows? But I do think framing it more like a Game Boy of like a personal player is the way to go. Or maybe they make an eShop player. I've thought about that for a little bit. What if the eShop grows that they basically sell a cheap Switch that is an eShop virtual console player that doesn't deal with actual cards.
Only one way to find out, and that is to wait.
Bloom Films finishes off CommentForce this week with a fun comment. Think about this. If the Wii U didn't fail, yes, it did fail, would everything about the Switch be the same? I don't know about you guys, but when I first saw the Wii U, I thought it was similar to what the Switch would be. Now, after 3.5 years of the Wii U, I sold it to get the Switch, and I already have more games on the Switch than I had on the Wii U. Just a thought, but I think Nintendo's semi-failed console made a great experience for them, and they learned and realized what they should improve on. Which I think is like really interesting that in some ways their failure allowed them to create the sort of perfected version of a really good baseline idea.
Well, I would hate to use the word perfected. Like, that's not a word I would use.
You don't think the Switch is perfected?
No.
Okay.
It would be perfected. Like, to me, perfect means that there's nothing you can improve, and you can, get a glass screen on there. You can make it like a little bit thinner. You can make it so it doesn't get so hot in the dock. Like, there's a lot of things that you can like change. Like, I mean, even just like 5-hour battery instead of 3-hour battery. Like,
yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying the concept. The concept of second screen gaming, the concept of being able to take it a little bit of a distance from the TV, I think that has been perfected.
Yeah, sure. I was just saying, like, the Switch console isn't perfect.
The Switch is not perfect. It is a perfected version of the Wii U concept, or a more perfect version.
Well, and of course, like, to Bloom Films' point, like, mistakes are what teach us in life. Like, if you never make a mistake, like, if you never, like, burn yourself on the stove, you don't know not to touch it. So, like, that's just kind of how life goes, and even for Nintendo, like, they've had failures in the past, and they'll have failures in the future. They will also have wild success as they're currently having, and they've had before with the Wii. Like, it's just first of all, part of business, and second of all, part of life, and there's nothing wrong with failing.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing to think is, like, I think whether Wii U is a success or failure, you still get Switch, because they're ultimately going to want to improve on their ideas regardless. But Wii U was a necessary stepping stone, right? So whether it failed or not, it did lead to the Switch. So thank you, Wii U, basically.
Yes.
And that is going to wrap us up for this week. Thanks so much for listening. A lot of great discussion here on CommentForce number 11. And don't forget to comment throughout the week, and maybe you'll be featured next time. We love hearing all your thoughts, your feedback, your questions, your ideas, your hypotheses, and more. So keep those coming. We're very grateful for the community we have, and we appreciate all of you. Make sure to subscribe if you want to stay up to date on the latest and greatest from the Switch and us here at SwitchForce. Hit that notification bell if you want to be the first to know, and check out our other videos that go up throughout the week. We know a lot of you are very interested in these longer form discussions, but we have some shorter form stuff in the form of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe gameplay. We'll have Puyo Puyo Tetris gameplay, and we'll be covering the news as it hits. For now, though, for myself, Jake, and Gabe, any final thoughts? No. Any well wishes for the week?
I hope everybody has a great week.
Jake, do you have any hopes for the week?
Unlock that gold Mario.
Jake is gunning for gold Mario, and we'll see if he gets there before CommentForce number 12, which is coming your way next weekend. Until that time, everybody, thanks again for watching a fantastic week. We love you all. Till that time, SwitchForce out.